Welcome to Core Concept HQ, where big ideas are simplified. Today, we're breaking down the book, Die with Zero.
And this book, I have to say, it's one of those ones that it completely rewires your brain. Once you get the core idea, you really can't go back to the old way of thinking. It changes everything about how you see your money, your time, and honestly, your own life.
It really does. But I've got to be honest, and I think a lot of people listening will feel this too. The title, it's kind of terrifying. Die with Zero. My first thought was, okay, so does he want me to, bounce the check to the undertaker? It sounds incredibly reckless.
It absolutely triggers that lizard brain survival instinct, doesn't it?
Totally.
It sounds like he's telling you to just cash out your 401k, buy a sports car, and hope you run out of gas in life at the same moment.
Exactly. A justification for just going wild.
But that is so not what the author, Bill Perkins, is saying, and we have to be super clear on this right at the top. He is not talking about running out of money while you are still alive.
Okay, good. That's a relief.
That's the nightmare scenario. This guy's a hedge fund manager. He's a numbers guy. He's all about avoiding that.
Right. Because I, for one, plan on living for a while and eating and, having a place to live.
Of course. The book isn't about being financially irresponsible. It's about being efficient. It's about challenging this script we all have in our heads.
The church is that.
The one that says, work really hard, save everything, sacrifice today for some magical tomorrow, retire, and then you finally get to start living.
The deferred life plan.
Exactly. And Perkins is basically shouting from the rooftops that script is broken. His whole point is that, yeah, you shouldn't run out of the money before you die, but you also shouldn't run out of life while you're busy just saving money.
That's the line right there. Running out of life. We act like life is this infinite resource and money is the scarce one, but it's completely backward.
It's the other way around, completely. You can always make more money. You can't make more time.
So this core conflict.
Yeah.
He frames it using that old fable, right? The ant and the grasshopper.
Yeah, the one we all learned in kindergarten. It's perfect.
Oh, man, I remember that. The ant just works and works all summer, stacking up grain, never has any fun.
Total grind.
And the grasshopper's just, playing his fiddle, living his best life, not a care in the world. And then winter comes, the ant is all cozy and fed, and the grasshopper, well, he's in trouble.
He freezes to death. That's the story. And the moral is hammered into us from age 5. Be the ant, always be the ant. Work now, play later. Delayed gratification is king.
Right. Don't be the lazy grasshopper.
But Perkins asks this really simple, brilliant question that kind of breaks the whole story. He asks, so when does the ant get to play?
That's a really good point. If you spend your entire life just piling up grain, do you ever actually eat the grain? Or do you just die on top of the biggest pile of grain in the whole colony?
Exactly. Did the ant win? Or did he just waste his entire one and only life working for something he never got to use? So Perkins says the goal of life isn't to have the biggest number in your bank account when you die.
What is it then?
The goal is to have the richest possible archive of memories. And that's our mission in this deep dive, to explain why maximizing your net worth and maximizing your life are actually two very different things. And, they often pull you in opposite directions.
Net worth versus life fulfillment. We usually just assume they're the same thing. If the money line goes up, the happiness line goes up with it.
And we assume it's a perfect correlation. But the act of chasing the net worth often means trading away the time and health you need for the fulfillment. So let's get into this, because he uses this amazing analogy right at the start of the book. He talks about the video game Space Invaders.
Oh, classic. I pumped so many quarters into that machine. It's so stressful.
Me too.
Yeah,
But what's the point of the game? What are you trying to do?
You're shooting the aliens, trying not to get hit, and you're racking up points. It's all about the high score. You want to see your initials at the top of the screen.
Right. In the game, the points are the point. That's the goal. The score is how you measure success. But Perkins says, in the game of life, we treat money exactly like those points.
We spend our whole lives trying to rack up a high score. A big retirement fund, a huge savings account. We check the number. We feel good when it goes up.
You get that little dopamine hit from seeing it grow, but there's this huge flaw in the logic when you apply it to real life.
That's the flaw.
It's a massive one. In Space Invaders, when the game is over, the points don't matter. They're just a number on a screen. But in life, when your game ends, When you die, the money you didn't spend is just left there. You can't use it.
It becomes useless to you in that final moment.
Instantly useless. So if you die with, say, $1 million unspent dollars, Perkins argues that's not a high score. That's not winning. It represents thousands of hours of your life that you traded for little pieces of paper that you never ever used.
Wow. Traded for paper you never used. That really hits hard. Because we're all trained to think more money is always better.
Yeah.
But he's defining money in a different way. He calls it, what was it, life energy.
Yes, exactly. Life energy. And this is a really important concept. He's saying money isn't just dollars and cents. It's a stand-in for the time you spent to get it. You know, you sat in traffic, you went to meetings, you dealt with a difficult boss, you traded a piece of your finite life to get that cash.
So if I earn $100, that's not just a bill. That's maybe 2 hours of my life that I will never, ever get back. I sold that time.
You sold a piece of your life. Now, if you take that $100 and you buy a concert ticket or have a great meal with a friend or you invest in a hobby, you're converting that stored life energy back into a life experience.
You're closing the loop.
You're closing the loop. You gave time to get money and you use the money to get life back. But, and this is the part that stings, if you die with that $100 still sitting in your bank account, you basically work those 2 hours for free.
Oof. For free. That's a painful way to think about a savings account. It feels like you got scammed.
It's brutal, but it's true from your perspective. You gave up your time, your one and only resource, for a token you never redeemed. That life energy just evaporates. You don't get the time back, and you didn't get the experience. You were a volunteer for that part of your life.
He has that great story about this from his own life when he was just starting out. He was working on the floor of the stock exchange in New York.
Right, he was a screen clerk, the lowest guy on the totem pole, just chaos, people screaming, total pressure cooker.
And he's making next to nothing, like $18,000 a year in New York City, which is, he can't live on that. He was eating popcorn for dinner, living in his tiny apartment. But he was saving. He was so proud because he'd managed to scrape together $1,000.
He was being the perfect aunt, doing exactly what we're all told to do. Save for a rainy day, right?
The ultimate aunt. And he goes to his boss, this bigger-than-life trader, and he's bragging, "Hey, look, I saved $1,000. He's expecting a pat on the back like, "Good job, kid. That's how you do it."
And what does the boss say?
The boss just looks at him and goes, "Are you an idiot?"
Wow. Just like that.
Are you an idiot for saving money? I mean, can you imagine? I would have been so crushed.
It sounds so harsh. But the boss's logic was actually kind of brilliant. He told him, look, your earning potential is going to explode in the next few years. Why are you starving yourself now in your prime to save pennies that will mean absolutely nothing to your future, much richer self?
That's the whole point, isn't it? The value of that money changes over time. $1,000 when you're 22 and broke is everything. It's a trip to another country. It's freedom. It could be the best experience of your life.
Right.
But $1,000 when you're 50 and making good money, it's a car payment. It doesn't move the needle.
Exactly. Perkins was basically taking money from his poor younger self to give to his rich older self. It's completely backward. It's like taking food from a starving person to save for a feast later when everyone's already stuffed.
That is a perfect way to put it.
So the big takeaway from this whole Space Invaders idea is stop treating life like a high-score game. The goal is maximizing fulfillment, not maximizing net worth. And waste isn't just frivolous spending. Waste is also the life energy you never got to use.
But that brings up the big question, because it's not just about money, is it? We're not just numbers on a spreadsheet. We're living, breathing people.
Yeah.
And that's where he brings in the 3 variables.
Yeah, and this, for me, is maybe the most practical and powerful part of the book. We get so obsessed with just one variable, money. Well, I run out of money. How can I get more?
Right. That's the only one we track.
But Perkins says you're always juggling 3 things: your health, your time, and your money.
And you need all 3 to have any kind of experience. It's like a 3-legged stool. If one leg is missing, the whole thing just tips over.
Exactly. Let's say you want to go hike the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu. You obviously need the money for the flights and the gear. But you also need the time to take 2 weeks off work. And crucially, you need the health to actually hike at that altitude for days.
And the cruel cosmic joke is that you almost never have all 3 of those things at the same time.
Almost never. I mean, think about the seasons of your life. When you're in your 20s, you've got tons of health. You're basically indestructible. You have a lot of time, or at least flexibility. But what don't you have?
Money. You're broke. You have the energy to climb the mountain, but you can't afford the ticket to get there.
Right. Then you hit your 30s, 40s, 50s, the middle years. Now you're making money. Your health is still pretty good, maybe a few aches and pains, but what's totally gone?
Time. You have zero time. You're working like crazy to make that money. You've got kids, a mortgage. You can afford the fancy resort, but you can only go for 3 days and you're checking your work phone the whole time. You're money rich and time poor. And then comes retirement, the so-called golden years. Now you have the money you saved, you have all the time in the world. But what's starting to fade?
Your health.
And that is the tragedy. That's the trap he wants us to avoid. He uses this great example of skiing versus shuffleboard.
I love that one.
So many people think, I'll save up all this money, and when I retire, I'm going to go skiing in the Swiss Alps.
But skiing requires, knees.
With a back and a back.
Please.
And the ability to fall down and get back up again without breaking something.
Right. You can save the money for the lift pass for 40 years. You can put that $100 in an investment account and let it grow. But you can't save your knees. Your knees don't earn compound interest. They do the opposite. They depreciate.
That's a bleak but very true statement.
Yeah.
The money can travel to the future, but your body can't.
So he breaks down retirement into 3 stages, which makes it super clear. He calls them the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years.
The go-go years, I'm guessing, are right when you retire.
Yep. Maybe 65 to 75. You're still active, you're healthy, you can travel, you can do stuff. The slow-go years, maybe 75 to 85, you're slowing down. You're not doing the intense adventure travel anymore. Maybe it's a cruise.
And the no-go years.
The no-go years are when your health really limits you. You're staying close to home. Your spending shifts from adventure to comfort and medical care.
And the tragedy is the person who saves all their money for the no-go years, thinking they'll spend it then.
Yes. The person who says no to a Disney trip with the grandkids at 45 because they're saving for retirement, but then at 85 they have $1 million in the bank and can't even leave their house, that money can't buy the experience they skipped. It has almost zero enjoyment value at that point.
So the whole point is to spend the money when you have the health and time to actually turn it into joy.
You have to align the variables. Spend when your personal interest rate on enjoyment is highest. A trip is worth more to you at 30 than it is at 80. So waiting to spend is actually inefficient. You're moving money from a time of high value to a time of low value.
This brings us to another huge idea in the book. Because when you spend money on a trip, it feels like that money is just gone. But he argues that you're actually investing in something. He calls it the memory dividend.
This is my favorite concept. It completely reframes what spending means. Normally, you spend $5,000 on a vacation and you think, okay, my net worth just dropped by $5,000. I am poorer.
Right. The little ant in your head is screaming, that's a mistake. You lost points. That could have grown into so much more.
But Perkins says, no, you didn't lose it. You converted it. You invested it into a memory. And that memory becomes an asset that pays you dividends for the rest of your life.
Okay, explain that. How does a memory pay a dividend? I can't use a memory to buy groceries.
No, but you get enjoyment from it over and over. Think about the best vacation you ever took. How many times have you told a story from that trip? How many times have you looked at a photo and smiled? How many times has it come up in conversation with the people you went with?
Oh, constantly. It's a source of joy for years and years. It's part of my story.
Every single one of those moments, the reliving, the storytelling, the smile, that's a dividend payment. The experience itself only happened once, but the memory pays out emotional dividends forever.
He has that story about his friend Jason, right? The one who went backpacking.
Yes, and it's the perfect example. So back when they're young and broke, Perkins is saving his pennies, eating popcorn. His friend Jason decides he's just going to go backpack through Europe for a few months.
And they're making no money. Jason
Right.
didn't have the cash.
He had to borrow the money to do it.
Yeah.
From some probably shady source with high interest. By any traditional financial advice, it was an incredibly stupid move.
The ant would be having a panic attack. Borrowing money for a vacation is like rule number 1 of what not to do.
But he did it. And he had all those amazing, messy, life-changing experiences you can only have when you're 22 with a backpack. And now, 30 years later, Jason is a successful, wealthy guy. He could fly first class to Europe tomorrow.
But he can't buy that trip.
He can't buy back being 22. He can't buy that specific sense of adventure and discovery. But more importantly, because he did it at 22, he's had 30 years of dividend payments from that one investment.
And that leads to the idea of compounding interest, but for memories.
It's the compounding interest of your life experiences.
Yeah.
If you wait until you're 65 to have your big adventure, how many years of dividends do you get to collect?
15, 20, if you're lucky.
Right. But if you have that adventure at 25, you get 60 years of dividends, 60 years of stories and joy from one investment. So delaying gratification for too long is actually bad advice because you're losing out on decades of emotional interest.
You're shrinking your fulfillment portfolio. You're choosing to live a smaller life story.
Exactly. And you can always make another dollar. You can't make another minute.
Okay. I have to put on the brakes here and play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Because I know what everyone listening is thinking right now. It's what I'm thinking. It sounds amazing, but what about my kids?
The number one objection.
Yeah.
Every time.
If I die with zero, I'm leaving my kids with zero. Isn't that the most selfish thing you can do? Isn't being a good parent about leaving them a big inheritance? That's what we're taught.
And Perkins just completely flips that idea on its head. He says the way we traditionally do inheritance waiting until we're dead is actually super inefficient and maybe even a little bit cruel.
How can leaving your kids money be cruel?
It's all about the timing. Let's say you live a nice long life, you die at 85. If you had your kids around age 30, how old are they when they inherit your money?
They're 55.
Right. And what's life like for a typical 55-year-old? Their house is probably paid off, their own kids are grown, they're at the peak of their own earning years, they're already planning for their own retirement.
The money is nice, sure, but it's not life-changing at that point. It just pads their own savings account.
Exactly. It has very low impact. But think back. When would that money have been truly life-changing for them?
Probably in their late 20s or early 30s.
Yes. When they were trying to scrape together a down payment for their first house. When they were drowning in student debt or childcare costs. When they wanted to start a business but couldn't afford to quit their job. That's when a chunk of money changes the entire trajectory of a life.
So he's saying, don't wait. Give it to them when they actually need it.
He calls it giving with a warm hand instead of a cold hand. Why make them wait? If you give it to them when they're 30, two amazing things happen. First, the money has a massive impact on their life. And second, and this is huge, you get to see it.
Memory dividend again.
It's a memory dividend for you. You get to go to their housewarming party at the house you helped them buy. You get to see your grandkids playing in the backyard. You get the joy of generosity. If you wait until you're dead, you get nothing. You're just a name in a will.
That completely reframes the whole selfishness argument. It's actually more generous to give it away when it matters.
And think about legacy. What do kids really want from their parents? Is it the money or is it the time? He says most kids would trade a bigger inheritance for more time with their parents any day of the week.
They'd rather have the memories of you than the money from you.
100%. And yet so many of us use the kids as an excuse to just keep working and hoarding because we're scared to stop.
Okay, so we've got the philosophy down. But how do you actually do this? How do you plan this out so you don't mess up and run out of money too early? It feels like you need a super complicated spreadsheet.
Right, and he's an engineer, he's a data guy. He doesn't want you to guess. He suggests a really simple but powerful tool called time bucketing.
Is that like a bucket list?
It's a bucket list with a deadline. A normal bucket list is just this vague list of someday items. Someday I'll see the northern lights, and someday usually means never.
Guilty.
Time bucketing is different. You literally draw out a timeline of your life from today until, say, age 90. And you break it into 5-year chunks, 30 to 35, 35 to 40, and so on.
Okay, so I have these empty boxes representing the rest of my life.
Now, you take your list of experiences, and you have to put them into a specific bucket. And the rule is you have to be realistic about your health.
Oh, I see. So you can't just dump everything into the retirement bucket.
You can't. If run a marathon is on your list, can you realistically put that in the 70 to 75 bucket?
Not likely. That probably needs to go into the 35 to 40 bucket, or maybe the 40 to 45 bucket at the latest.
And if you don't do it then, you have to accept that it's probably not going to happen. You have to cross it off. But something like read all of Shakespeare's plays.
You could put that in the 80 to 85 bucket that just requires your brain.
Exactly. And doing this exercise creates this incredible sense of urgency. It's this now or never realization. You think you have 40 years left, but for certain activities like playing on the floor with your grandkids or going on a strenuous hike, you might only have 10 or 15 years left in you. The window is closing much faster than you think.
It's not, I have 40 years left to live. It's, I have 10 years left to do this specific thing. That lights a fire under you.
It does, and once you've placed these experiences in your buckets, you can estimate their cost and start planning for them. This leads to his most controversial idea, probably, the idea of a peak net worth.
This is the one that makes financial advisors nervous.
For sure. The traditional model says your net worth just keeps going up your whole life. Perkins says no. There should be a specific age, maybe somewhere between 45 and 60, where your net worth hits its peak. And after that, it should start to go down. On purpose.
That is a terrifying thought for most people. Watching your life savings get smaller feels like you're failing.
It's totally counterintuitive to how we're wired. We're wired to accumulate. But if that number never goes down, it means you're not spending it. You're not cashing in your chips for experiences. You're just hoarding the chips. He calls it decumulating. You have to plan to spend it down.
Okay, which brings us to the final and maybe biggest hurdle. It's all psychological. It's fear. Everything you said makes perfect logical sense. I get it. But my gut is still screaming, save! It's not safe.
And that's a normal, healthy reaction. We are wired to survive. That little ant inside us is what kept our ancestors alive through famines and winters. But we have to recognize that for many of us, we've moved past simple survival. We have the luxury of trying to thrive.
He does say you have to cover your basics first.
Oh, absolutely. This is not about being reckless. He says, get your safety net in place, make sure your housing is secure, your basic needs are met, maybe buy an annuity to guarantee a baseline income for life. He's a big fan of that.
But once that safety net is there...
Once that's covered, the rest of the money is for living. And this is where you have to think about the two different kinds of risk.
What are the two kinds?
We're obsessed with one risk. The risk of running out of money when we're old. It's a very vivid fear. But we completely ignore the other risk. The risk of running out of life before you've run out of money. The risk of getting to 90, looking back at a life you didn't live, full of regret.
The risk of regret.
And Perkins argues that's the real tragedy. Being broke at 90 would be really, really hard. But being rich and full of regret at 90 is a special kind of hell. Because you can never go back. You can't buy back the time. You can't unmiss your life.
Don't be the richest person in the graveyard.
There's no prize for it. So he really just encourages people to be a little bolder, to not just wait for some perfect retirement that might never come or might not look like you imagine. Use your money, use your health, use your time. Now.
It's basically giving yourself permission to enjoy the life you've worked so hard to build.
And to honor the person you are today. Because the you of tomorrow will physically be less capable than the you of today. That's just a biological fact.
Okay, let's try to sum this up. This is a huge mental shift. If we had to boil it down to the big takeaways, what are they?
I think there are 4 key things to hold on to. First, your money is a tool, not a scorecard. Stop playing Space Invaders with your life. The goal is to finish the game with the tank on empty.
Okay, what's second?
Second, remember the 3 variables. Money isn't everything. Your health and your time are precious and they're decaying assets. You have to spend the money while you still have the other 2.
Third.
Invest in your memory dividend. An experience is an asset that pays you joy for the rest of your life. Start investing early to get the longest possible payout.
And the last one.
Rethink how you give. Give with a warm hand, help your family and the causes you care about when it actually makes a difference, and get the joy of seeing the impact yourself.
It's powerful stuff. And I guess the final thought is just that we all know for certain that we're going to die. The only real question is whether you're going to use the life energy you work so hard to store up, or if you're just going to let it go to waste.
It's the difference between just getting through life and actually living it.
Thanks for listening. And remember, this is Core Concept HQ, where we simplify powerful ideas to help you live smarter. See you in the next summary.